Right now, somewhere in your day, you're gonna feel it. That itchy, restless, check your phone feeling. Boredom. It's gonna hit you today probably more than once, maybe while you're waiting for a kettle to boil, or sitting in traffic, or scrolling through an app you didn't even mean to open. But here's the part that should genuinely bother you. For most of human history, that specific feeling barely showed up the way it does for you now. Not because ancient life was more exciting, because their days were structured in a way that almost never left the kind of empty gap boredom needs to exist. Boredom isn't just nothing to do, it's your brain telling you that your current environment isn't giving it enough to justify your attention. It's a mismatch alarm, and like any alarm, it only goes off under very specific conditions: predictable, repetitive, low-stakes conditions, with nothing urgent pulling your focus in any direction. Sound familiar? That's most of modern life. Waiting rooms, traffic lights, meetings that could have been an email, scrolling through a feed that's already shown you everything twice. Now compare that to how anthropologists describe a hunter-gatherer's actual day. One well-known time use study followed the Agta, a hunting and foraging community, and found something that surprised the researchers themselves. Adults spend close to 24 hours a week on active subsistence work outside camp and roughly another 20 hours on tasks inside camp. But the same research found that nearby farming communities, tied to fixed land and crops that needed constant tending, actually ended up with less total leisure time than the foragers did. Settled, advanced life didn't buy more free time. In this case, it bought more obligation. But here's the important part. The hours that were free in a foraging life weren't empty the way your free time often is. They were filled with self-directed, purposeful attention, tool repair, tracking animal movement, storytelling around a fire, watching weather patterns shift before they became a problem, teaching children how to notice things adults had already learned to notice automatically. Every minute had a reason behind it, even the slow ones, because slowness itself was frequently part of the task. Watching, waiting, noticing small changes before they became big ones. Here's the number that should genuinely stop you for a second. Some modern surveys estimate that adults report feeling bored for a significant chunk of their waking hours, often described as roughly a third of the day when you count commuting, downtime, and in-between moments. A third of your waking life spent in that itchy, low-grade discomfort. That number simply didn't have room to exist in a life where attention drifting for too long while foraging or failing to notice a change in the environment had real, immediate consequences. And this is where the whole idea flips on its head. Boredom isn't a flaw in your brain, it's a side effect of safety. Ancient attention systems were built with threat detection habits so sensitive that understimulation was almost never a real, sustained state. There was nearly always something worth noticing, tracking, or preparing for.
You, sitting in a quiet room feeling restless with absolutely nothing wrong, are experiencing something your ancestors would have found almost unimaginable: extended, uneventful, guaranteed safety, with nothing demanding their attention at all. So why does that safety feel uncomfortable instead of relaxing? Because your attention system never got the update. It's still calibrated for constant small tasks and low-level vigilance, the same settings that kept your ancestors alive. When that stimulation disappears completely, the system doesn't know how to idle gracefully. It reads nothing is happening as a problem that needs solving, not a gift that deserves enjoying. That's the entire reason silence sends you reaching for your phone within seconds of it starting. And that gap, the time before you look for a screen, keeps getting shorter, not longer, the more we train it to expect constant input. So what filled those quiet ancient hours instead of scrolling? Repetitive, meditative tasks that still had a real purpose behind them. Weaving fibers into something usable, shaping stone tools by hand, one careful strike at a time, grooming one another, which released the same bonding chemistry your brain still releases during a good, unhurried conversation today. These weren't boredom filler activities invented to pass time. They were low-stimulation tasks that still moved something forward, which is exactly the piece modern life quietly removed when it optimized every gap out of existence. And here's what makes this a real, ongoing modern problem, not just an interesting piece of trivia. Your brain now runs two systems in direct conflict with each other. An old one that treats stillness as slightly suspicious, something to be resolved quickly, and a modern environment engineered to remove almost all necessary stillness, filling every possible gap with a notification before the bored feeling could even fully form and do whatever it was supposed to do. You're not learning to sit with it anymore. You're erasing the moment before it could ever teach you anything. Because when people are actually studied while sitting through boredom, without reaching for a phone or any other distraction, something genuinely interesting tends to show up afterward. Measurably better performance on tasks that require original, creative thinking. The ancient brain, when it's actually given the stillness it evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to tolerate, doesn't break down under the pressure of empty time. It starts generating instead. Ideas, plans, memory sorting and consolidation, all the quiet background work your ancestors were very likely doing while gathering roots, mending a tool, or simply scanning the horizon for movement that never came. There's a deeper layer here too. That constant flooding of stimulation doesn't just erase boredom, it erases the recovery period your brain actually needs between demands. Ancient stillness wasn't wasted time sitting between one task and the next. It functioned as a kind of mental reset, letting the nervous system settle back down after a spike of alertness, whether that spike came from a strange sound in the grass or a difficult decision about where to find water next. Without that reset built into daily life, the alertness never fully comes back down. It just stacks
quietly in the background all day long.
So the next time that itchy, restless feeling hits, the one that makes you reach for your phone before you've even consciously decided to, remember what it actually is. It's not a flaw in you personally, it's a threat detection system with nothing left to detect, running on default in a world that finally, for the first time in a very long history, gave your brain almost nothing left it needed to survive. If your brain likes knowing things like this about itself, stick around. Next time we're covering something even stranger, why ancient humans never brushed their teeth, and somehow, for most of that time, it barely mattered at all.